Hi everyone, a good morning to you. Welcome to day 2 of Ferrari Challenge, round 2 here in Mugello. A beautiful backdrop that you can see there. Center screen as we're about to get qualifying underway for our Copa Shell and Copa Shell AM drivers. Some 26 of them will be taking to the track to try and deliver the best lap time they can that will give them the best grid position that they can possibly achieve for the race to come this afternoon. So this is where we are then, Mugello, and our calendar for 2026 features La Castellet, which we have already been to in the south of France. Here we are in Mugello before heading off to the Styria region of Austria. Then it is Le Mans in support of the 24-hour race. Then Portimao, Budapest and Barcelona. It is a phenomenal calendar that has been crafted and honed by the fantastic team at Ferrari Corsa Clienti to come up with a truly remarkable schedule of events to enjoy during 2026. And we're only on the second stage of our tour, if you will, across Europe. And bear in mind that here we have weather conditions very different to those that we found in Mugello when we were here for Finale Mondiale. Track temperature is currently 14 degrees, the air temperature is 13 degrees. Clear blue sky, not even the hint of harmless high cloud to dampen the spirits of warmth and enthusiasm that exist and pervade around this 5.2 kilometer circuit, which winds its way through the countryside here in Tuscany. It's a very, very technical circuit with lots and lots of elevation changes which test our drivers, and it's why drivers, race fans alike, love to be here. That long start-finish straight with 2 elevation changes in it, and here in full, in graphics, all the drivers that will be taking part in qualifying. Welcome to my colleague alongside me, Nico Spalek. Qualifying should be good. Weather conditions set fair. In fact, the whole menu of tantalizing taste is before us ahead of this 30-minute qualifying session.
Yes, indeed. Tantalizing taste, indeed. A little bit of an explanation on the color coding that you can see. We have 2 subcategories here in this session. It's Copa Shell, depicted in yellow graphics and with yellow sun strips on the fronts of the 296 Challenge cars, and the black color denotes our Shell AM drivers. They will qualify in the same session. They will line up mixed on the grid, if that's how qualifying ends, and they will be ranked and scored separately for the race later on, but it's going to be one combined race. As we can see, many of our drivers in the final stages of preparation. We're about a minute and a half away from the session getting underway.
Generally speaking, Charles Chan, along with most of the other drivers, will go out on a scrubbed set of tyres, which would have been used in the race yesterday, before coming in around mid-order, midway through the session, where they'll put a new set of tyres on to set their fastest lap, one assumes, in the second half of our qualifying session, as we look at Paolo Scudieri, then the Saab Mo car driver, and final adjustments being made in the cockpit of the car. Alvaro Ramos is champing at the bit to get going in the number 150 car at the head of the queue, as you can see, and the 108 car is driven by Jean Rieu. And there is Jean, just focusing and concentrating on data ahead of him, the Kessel Racing driver. All the drivers, of course, are supported by a team that provide engineers and mechanics and driver coaches and do everything to make this whole racing experience absolutely awesome for all of our drivers. And as Nico indicated, we have Shell AM drivers and Shell drivers, and there is the data that is available to them on the dashboard. Sitting in neutral at the moment, as you can see, the big N depicted on the laser display. The 180 car is driven by Alvar Mer. Alvar inside the car, complete with crash helmet, hands device. Green light at the end of the pit lane right now. Let's get this qualifying session underway. And sure enough, right on cue, the number 150 car of Alvaro Ramos makes its way out. Joining the queue there is Alexei Komarov in the 199 car. Lovely low shot that we can bring you of these wonderful 296 Challenge cars making their way out of the pit lane right now. For the Shell drivers yesterday, it was Sven Schirmer that was victorious, if memory serves me correctly, as often it doesn't. And for the Shell AM drivers, I'm talking about who was victorious in the race as opposed to setting it on pole position. It was Lucas Azato who did it for the Shell AM drivers. Sven Schirmer, as I said, did it for the Shell drivers. We're on board with Eric Chung, who was a race winner at our visit to the Paul Ricard circuit in the south of France on his return to racing, which was very, very good to see. And Eric Chung looking very lively yesterday until he had an off just about here, actually, on the exit of that chicane, where just caught the curb and that flicked the back end of the car around, and that took him from a almost guaranteed podium position to a not podium position. So Eric will be hoping to avoid any errors of judgment like that today in the race. But right now we're enjoying qualifying. 30 minutes on the clock, which goes pretty quickly. And when you've got 26 cars out there on track, finding track space, finding your rhythm, finding the perfect setup, finding the optimum time to run on tyres that might be new, it's all a challenge. These two drivers have certainly challenged throughout their time together in the Ferrari Challenge, and that's Sven Schirmer and Jan Sandman. They provided great entertainment last year in the Copa AM category, which they were both competing in. And it was nip and tuck between the two of them as to who would take the championship. In the end, it was this man, Sven Schirmer, that prevailed, but he was chased all the way by the car that's just passed him, which is Jan Sandman. And I rather think, Nico, in the Shell category this year, that competition is going to be reignited.
I think it already has, very much, and just to give proper credit also to Jan Sandman, he did take the championship in the world final race here in Mugello.
Yes,
so both of them champions from 2025, one for Europe, one in the Finale Mondiali race, and as you say, the two have already figured very prominently in the races thus far. Jan Sandman, I believe, leads the championship, and Sven Schirmer has come and clawed back quite a few points yesterday by virtue of taking the win. Jan Sandman also on the podium meanwhile, so didn't lose a whole lot of points. Still early goings in the championship, but we've seen you can put yourself in a real hole early on, as there is one of our driver coaches for this driver on screen.
Yes, that's Andrea Gagliardini, Sven Schirmer's driver coach, or 50% of the driver coaching team, because also driver coaching Sven is Max Blancardi. Both those driver coaches have got experience in the Ferrari Challenge. Andrea Gagliardini has wide experience in GT racing. Max Blancardi, of course, former Ferrari Challenge champion of some repute, it has to be said. Both very enigmatic and characterful Italian racing drivers. So, Sandman then, purple sector 1. Schirmer responds with a personal best sector 1. Indicative that most cars will be out on a scrub set of tyres from yesterday before going on to a new set of tyres, maybe halfway through the session, we predict. The times and the colour bars are almost meaningless at this early stage of qualifying, because no one has set real meaningful times yet, and therefore every time is going to look like a purple or a blue. And the track limits for Jan Sandman, Max Blancardi, you can just see as we split the screen then. Now, what happens with the track limits during qualifying is that if you're on a lap and you exceed the track limits, you have that lap time deleted, irrespective of where you are on the track. And that basically can mean that all the effort you've put into that lap can be ruined, and you're going to have to go again. And there we go into the garage of Sven Schirmer. You can see Danilo Del Favero to the very right-hand side of your picture there, stood up watching on. And this is Sven Schirmer, driver of the 175 car in replay. Victorious yesterday. He didn't have a stunning opening round, it has to be said, in Le Castellet, taking a P3 and a P4 if memory serves me correctly. Certainly got back to winning ways yesterday here in Mugello. Number of drivers have had lap times deleted, including Stefano Inama, Alvaro Ramos, Giuseppe Romelli, as we ride on board now with Eric Chung who is at the moment the fastest driver out there with a 1:59.556. We're expecting times to come down still further from that, with 24.5 minutes of the qualifying session remaining. We're live from Mugello. Welcome. It is Ferrari Challenge Europe, and von Skeltema out there as well. He's second fastest at the moment, but he's just had his lap time deleted because of track limits as well. So there are various points and places here on the Mugello circuit where you can gain an advantage significantly by running all four wheels just off the track and getting something of a slingshot through a turn. There's Daniele Diamato, as we split the screen there, who is driver coach to Eric Chung. Daniele Diamato, another former champion in the Ferrari Challenge. Schirmer with purple, sector 1 and sector 2. This is probably going to be a new provisional P1 time as Jan Sandman goes to the top of the chart for the moment, and Sven Schirmer has the lap time deleted because of track limits. So Jan Sandman's 1:56.155 is the quickest time. Eric Chung is 7/10 behind with a 1:56.882. So Sven Schirmer, who was on target for a big improvement, actually by falling foul of the track limits had the lap time deleted, which is frustrating, Nico, when you put everything into the lap and then in the final knock-ins you run just a few millimeters too far over and your lap time is gone.
Absolutely. Just to give you a little bit of reference, as Stefano Inama puts it on provisional P1, our pole time yesterday was a 1:49, so we're still about 7 seconds away from that.
We're thinking most are on scrub tyres from yesterday, though.
Indeed. So just to give you a reference point, and we've seen drivers who we think, oh, it's purple, it's personal best, and they are a second quicker than the previous best time, dive into pit lane because it's their strategy to come in at a certain point in time, and they would rather sacrifice a given lap time. But we've also seen having a banker at the front end of the standings isn't a bad thing if things go very wrong, and Azato meanwhile has put it on P1 overall. He is an M driver, but again, purple times from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers, including Sven Schirmer. So times are getting quicker, but I think in about 3, 4, 5 minutes we will see the first wave of drivers come back into pit lane and change their footwear, if you will, to get ready for the real-time chase, which we expect to be in the second half of quali, as you so adequately and profoundly explained.
This time, I don't think there are any track limits warnings for this man, Sven Schirmer, who's heading towards the timing line now. New provisional P1 and a 1:52.869. There's Farnas, his wife, looking on, a 1:52.869. So good job done by Sven Schirmer there. In replay, taking the rumble strips. Great job done by the driver of the 175 car, who I would suggest has probably found a few tenths in terms of confidence following the victory yesterday. Luke Cesato, though, is ready to respond. And respond he does with personal bests in, overall bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2, but those are overall bests within category, within class. So the Kessel Racing driver, who his previous best time is 1:55.115. We're expecting that to be bettered right now as he climbs uphill now. 2 uphill sections on the start-finish straight. Breaking the timing beam. Oh yes, a 1:53.254. So 3 and, well, nearly 4 tenths behind that of Sven Schirmer. But nonetheless, the reason the bars were coloured purple is because within class, it was a very good performance from Lucas Cesato, and definitely the quickest.
Indeed, and there we follow Jan Sandman. As you can see from the graphics, he is about half a second down from the Sven Schirmer time. I wouldn't be all that surprised if he decided to dive into pit lane at the end of this lap, but let's see what he decides to do. Sven Schirmer, meanwhile, has come into the pit, so has von Skeltema, Shintaro Akatsu, and quite a few of the other ones who are figuring on the standings. A few of them haven't set a time. Tibor Valent, our podium finisher yesterday, as well as Charles Chan, and see what I know, nothing. Jan Salmon continues across the timing line, and his provisional time will elevate him a little bit, P3 overall, but still almost 8 tenths away from provisional pole from Sven Schirmer.
Interesting to note, and there is Sven Schirmer. He is in the pit lane, but the team are now setting about just adjusting temps and getting ready to replace the tyres and put new tyres on. Eric Chung, look, a new set of boots going on the 198 car as well. Every driver taking their time at the moment.
Yeah, you can see it's nothing like a performance pit stop that you're used from Formula One or other racing categories. This is all very much under control and according to plan for our drivers and teams. As we take a look at the Lima car. Alexandre Lima going through that final part of the track, currently 10th in class, which is 19th overall. Personal best in Sector 1, not a personal best in Sector 2. Where will that put him for the time being? It does elevate him quite a bit. P2 overall and in class, so good showing from him. There is Jan Sandman coming into pit lane.
Now, I'm not convinced that Schirmer put new rubber on.
I have no factual evidence.
I'm not convinced. I was watching, we have a camera feed into our studio, and there were lots of people working on the car, but I'm not convinced that new tyres went on yet, but I might be wrong. This is Lisa Clark, driver of the 130 car for Pirelli Racing, currently 5th fastest within class, 8th fastest overall for Lisa Clark. Does a lot of racing, based in North America, but choosing to race here in Europe as well as in North America as well. Does a lot of racing, does Lisa Clark, and a very, very competent racing driver, no question. Schirmer, Lima, Azato, the top 3, 2 Shell drivers and a Shell AM driver. Schirmer with the 152.869, a 42 and quarter tenths quicker than Alexander Lima. So the Pirelli Racing driver Lisa Clark then continuing on her way around this circuit. P10 overall at the moment, and Lisa Clark's last or best lap time, 155.836. 155.836. There are not many drivers that have not had a lap time deleted because of a track limit infringement, and there are some that have had more than one, including Alvaro Ramos and Leon Rinbeek. So Sven Schirmer, Alexander Lima has come into the pit lane, so too Luke Cesato. Jan Salmon still in the pit lane. And nice profile of the Pirelli Racing driver Lisa Clark then. And that's followed up by images of the car going through the rumble strips, curves and chicanes. Really lovely images, which are made and enhanced still further by the fact that the sun is shining here in Mugello this weekend. As somebody that's been a bit quiet in this qualifying session thus far is Henrik Kamstrup, and he sent a screen right now with personal bests across Sector 1 and Sector 2. He's currently 3rd fastest, so he's gone about his business quite quietly, if I'm honest with you, and not made a big song and dance about where he is in qualifying, but P3 is no mean achievement, far from it from Henrik Kamstrup, and not beyond the realms of possibility seeing him P1 within class, and this could be the lap that does it for him. Let's see as he heads to break the timing beam right now, and, well, there are not many things I say that are correct, but on this occasion I did get it right, and that's precisely what he's done. He's gone to top of the class within the Shell AM drivers, and actually that time is 2nd fastest overall, Nico.
Indeed, and Henrik was one of those who came out fairly late. It was only his 4th lap that he was, including his out lap, so he left it a little bit later than most others. Does that mean he immediately went out with a fresh set? We don't quite know, but I think there is even more time in it for him, based on the progression of the last few laps. Paolo Scudieri, he had an off in the same spot where Eric Chung had an off yesterday in the race, and unfortunately the race was over for him, but great to see him back in the car and back challenging here currently in P9. Great to see the telemetry on board, the gears. See the throttle and the brake power that he applies as he goes through the chicane, and then it's full throttle again, 4th gear, 5th gear. Almost reaching 200 kilometers an hour, and obviously they reach very, very high speeds along the long start-finish straight. Almost in excess of 290 kilometers an hour, and there you can see a little bit of the undulating nature of this track as it drops, and unfortunately here you can also see that traffic gets in the way of his lap time.
This is Henrik Hamstrup on a further improvement right now, the Formula Racing driver, then personal best Sector 1. Better than anyone through Sector 2. Is this going to be a time that is going to trouble the 1:52.869, which is currently the fastest lap time that we've seen during this qualifying session? Here comes Henrik Hamstrup now, ready to break the beam. And he does so, and he goes P1. A 1:52.191. Now that's quicker than the Sven Schirmer time. Also on a quick lap right now is von Skeltermar, Sector 1 and Sector 2, both overall bests. The Kessel Racing driver. We're watching Paolo Scudieri, and we ride on board with Paolo Scudieri right now, but we keep the graphics on as Paolo Scudieri's lap is going to be completely ruined. He's just done the track limits. So that's the end of that lap. What's von Skeltermar going to do? He's mired in traffic and cannot thread his way through the traffic. That inevitably is going to have cost him some tenths, I would have thought, as he heads to break the beam now. Wow. I tell you what, that was good driving from von Skeltermar, who has gone to P1 in class. He's the quickest of the Shell drivers, but by 6 tenths is down on Henrik Hamstrup, and I can't help but feel that maybe 6 tenths was the at least the loss as he tried to thread his way through the traffic that was on the exit of the final turn, and that's what greeted him.
Yeah, he lost a second on the final sector compared to the best times we've seen in this sector here in this session, so that's a testament. And
John View just gone with a 1:50.610. So we are seeing the times come tumbling down now with new rubber on the cars. A 1:50.610. That's a full 1.5 seconds quicker than the previous best time from Henrik Hamstrup. We've got just under 12 minutes of this qualifying session remaining. And with some 26 cars out there, it is inevitably going to be busy in places. And it's trying to spot the clear tarmac and give yourself a lap where you can go out and make the most of everything that's available to you by not being compromised by other cars. Charles Chan has got Paolo Scudieri for company. Paolo Scudieri in unfamiliar colours by dint of him having an off yesterday in the 101 car. And Charles Chan undoubtedly now tries to dive to the inside of Paolo Scudieri before the long run on the start-finish straight, whereas Nico indicated when you reach the conclusion of that straight, you're pulling the thick end of 290 kilometers per hour before braking into the right-hander, which is turn number 1. 2 elevation changes on the start-finish straight. Charles Chan goes through. Sven Schirmer also mired in traffic, Nico, and that's compromising his lap here. You can see he's done a personal best through Sector 1. Sector 2 was also a personal best. He ran really wide there in avoidance of other traffic. He's got right behind him Shintaro Akatsu, and Shintaro Akatsu might get the benefit of a bit of a draft off the back of the Sven Schirmer car, as Sven is going to have to go again. Done enough to make it P1 in class, although that has now dropped, and it's actually P2 in class because von Skeltermar has gone P1, and it was a track limits actually for Sven Schirmer, which actually was through the final turn, and we saw him run wide, but he was running wide in avoidance, really. Okay, we continue where we are then with Lucas Cesato, who's looked very lively during this qualifying session. And Lucas Cesato rounds out now by going P1 with a 1:50.116. Who is going to be the first driver to put it into the 1:49s? I'd hazard to guess it could be Sven Schirmer, it could be Lucas Cesato, it could be von Skeltermar. Whoever is going to be able to find the clear tarmac, it's going to be advantageous for them.
Yeah, for sure. And this is one qualifying session. You can all think we can all feel the dynamic where one or two drivers will be totally out of position because of track limits or traffic and just not being able to find the clear lap that they were looking for. Von Skeltema is trying to not be among them. He is currently P6 overall, but certainly with a trajectory to move up the order. No traffic in front of him, so that looks like a potential to move into one of the front rows and maybe even all the way into P1. It's a long way from that final turn to the timing line, but he's getting there. I don't think it's a 1:49, but it is an improvement. It's a 1:55.84, so that puts him 4th overall, 3rd in class.
Here's Thibaut Valent then, second fastest at the moment, personal best, Sector 1, quicker than anyone, Sector 2. Thibaut Valent, who's a long-standing campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge. He knows how to pedal a Ferrari Challenge car, that's for sure. Eric Chung is also looking lively too, another long campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge. So these two are going to be offering an improvement, I feel sure. Thibaut Valent now accelerates out of the final turn and heads towards breaking the beam. Thibaut Valent, who sat P3 overall, P2 in class, now goes P1 and he's the first driver to give us a sub 150 time with a 1:49.797. 1:49.797 came from Thibaut Valent, and that's immediately vaulted by the tune of 1.5 100ths by Lucas Asato, who is a Shell Am driver. Lucas Asato really meaning business. Eric Chung, his middle sector was not where he wanted it to be. This could still be a big improvement for Eric Chung, but it's potentially not where he wants to be. Well, it's an improvement of 3 places. Daniele Diamato, his driver coach, on the radio to him. We know there's more to come from Eric Chung.
Eric Chung, as you say, way down the order. Sven Schirmer also by his standards, only in P12, so a few drivers still with work to do. Shintaro Katsu and there is Von Skeltema, both trying to navigate their way around the final turn. I think that will have compromised Fons just a little bit, and I hope it hasn't reduced his top speed, so it would also compromise the next lap, because that's always the problem if you encounter traffic on that final turn. And indeed, there is no improvement for him at this stage. Thibaut Valent, he is very, very quick, but taking a look at all the times across our timing screen, lots of improvements, but it's Thibaut Valent and Jan Salmon who are challenging currently to unseat Lucas Asato, who has come into pit lane, so he has decided this time will be good enough. Thibaut Valent, no such thoughts.
Sven Sherman now improves to P3 overall. That's P2 in class, just one ahead of his nemesis, Jan Sandman. Thibaut Valent, I don't think this is going to be a huge improvement for Thibaut. He's already P1 in class. And Thibaut, actual fact, does go a tad better. He's taken 2/10 out of Lucas Asato's time, so it does mean that the honour of a Shell driver has gone back to the top of the chart. Lucas Asato is actually out of the car, so his qualifying session is done and dusted. Here is Jan Salmon trying to respond, and I don't think this lap is going to be the lap for Jan Salmon to see a big improvement, honestly. It's Thibaut Valent from Lucas Asato, Sven Schirmer, Jan Salmon, Von Skeltema, Jean Roux, Charles Chan, then it's Boris Gideon. So here is Jan Salmon then going to round out the lap. He will go again, and sure enough, he was some time down on where he would like to be. There you can see congratulations all around for Lucas Asato, who for Kessel Racing has put it P1 within class, and at the moment that means a front row start for him, because the grid is mixed up, Nico, in that wherever you qualify, that is where you're going to be starting, irrespective of whether you're a Shell or a Shell Am driver.
Indeed.
Here's Charles Chan. Here is Sven Schirmer. At the moment, Sven Schirmer and Jan Salmon are occupying the second row of the grid. If everything were to stop right now.
Yeah, Sven Schirmer is not a very quick lap. That's why we don't show the time for you. Eric Chung, who was way down the order, has at least improved to P5 in class, P8 overall. So that's not where he would like to be, but it's certainly a lot better than where he was just a few minutes ago. I'm sure Sven Schirmer, he will have regrouped over the last lap, and he's not now going to go again. So I'm sure we will throw the time on screen for you thank you guys, right on cue, and this is one to watch for Sven Schirmer. Buoyed by his 2 driver coaches, he will not take a second row start lying down.
Penske Sportwagen Hamburg, then the team that engineered the car of Sven Schirmer, with Andrea Gagliardini and Max Blancardi coaching him, and Farnas, his wife and family, all there in support as well. So it's Valent, Zato and Schirmer, then Salmon, Skeltermar, Roux, Chan, Chung, Gideon, Lima. They are the top 10. There we split the screen. You can see the support that Sven Schirmer has with the Max Blancardi nodding his head and Andrea Gagliardini alongside him there. Blancardi and Gagliardini, they know what to do, and you can see that they share the disappointment when the lap times are not where, or the sector times are not where they want them to be. And we are running out of time now. We've got just under 4 minutes of this session remaining. At the moment, second row start for Schirmer and Sandman. A front row start for Tibor Valent and Lucas Azato. Now, bear in mind, for Tibor Valent and Lucas Azato, it's not only starting on the front row, but it's an additional point to be added to their points tally, because you get an additional point for putting it on pole position. Azato feels that his next closest competitor, Jean Roux, is not going to be able to find the time to better him. Sherman now is using this as a warm-up for this lap. I would have suggested this lap is not going to be enough for him. So he breaks the timing beam and will go again. But of course, with every lap that he goes again, he's taken another lap's worth of rubber out of the tires.
Yeah, and that was exactly what I was about to say as well. It's for the driver coaches to give the input to the driver. Actually, it's better to stop the effort, because you're only taking more out of the tires, and whatever you can do in terms of improvement is not going to be worth it. That must be a very difficult call, and it's maybe one, as von Skeltermar has gone around, and I don't think he had an impact, didn't look like it, but certainly that car is firmly, squarely across the track. Well, Sven Schirmer, first sector is purple, so whatever I thought might be the case counts for naught. Jan Salmon, he in P3, will he be able to improve? No, so it's P3 in class, P3 P4 overall, of course.
I was talking to the Bidstrup brothers who race in Trofeo Pirelli, Pirelli Am. They were saying that it's really noticeable how the tyre degradation really increases as the track temperature increases. They were saying more aggressive, the tarmac, than they remember. And of course, they remember from being here towards the end of last year, when the track temperature and conditions were altogether different to what we're experiencing now this weekend. So Schirmer then with overall best in Sector 1. Sector 2 was a couple of tenths down. He accelerates now out of the final turn. He is going to be able to go again should he so desire, and that's exactly what he's going to do, because he's not indicated to come into the pit lane. Here comes Sven Schirmer then. And he's 5 tenths down. I wonder whether we've seen the best now, because Tibor Valent has parked up, Lucas Azato has parked up. And this was von Skeltermar.
Oh, I was wrong there.
Yes.
Definitely had an impact. And there is Fons.
Out of the car perfectly okay, which is testament to the integral safety of the 296 Challenge cars. And you know, that has been the scene of 2 turnarounds that I can recall from just yesterday's race. It was Paolo Scudieri that went around there, and Eric Chung went around there as well. And if you just, you know, it's just clipping that curb, and that upsets the back end of the car, that can spit you out, and that's precisely what happened there.
Yeah, but Fons obviously brought the car back into the pits, which is good, because the team can start working on that, and I think it also is a good indication that it was still fairly much in working order, at least to get it back to the pits. So as Alexandre Lima moves up into P4, which is 5th overall, a 3rd row start, not too shabby for Alexandre Lima. Good effort here in the dying stages. Right now the checkered flag is out. And dare I say, I don't think there are a lot of drivers out there who still have a realistic shot at moving up the order. Yes.
Yes, I don't think there are big improvements coming. You're quite right. And there you can see Andrea Gagliardini. I don't think we're going to see improvements checkered flag is out, and the rows we've got are the rows that we're going to have. There's Tibor Valent to the right of the picture there. Andreas there from Rosso Corsa, and Tibor Valent then with the red race suit there. Pretty happy with that. Tibor's son, Bence, of course, is a young, talented driver who's raced in the Ferrari Challenge, and this is von Skeltermar just surveying what has happened. The Kessel team will go to work on that car. There are still cars and drivers out there on track, but there's no one offering huge improvements. Eric Chung, I don't think is going to be an improving driver, but we know that Eric can do the overtaking in the race, and maybe he's going to have to on this occasion.
Yeah, probably. The man who said yes in the pit lane, meanwhile, to give him proper credit, was Jean Roux, who was second in class, the 108 driver on 7th overall, but he was bested by this man.
Lucas Azato, well done, Lucas. Good job done, good job done.
He's already won 3 races out of 3 this season, and
he's mixing it up with the Shell drivers, to be fair, Nico.
Absolutely, 2nd overall. That is a great testament. And now, I was about to say Tibor Valent didn't quite look like he had
he's happy now.
Had accepted pole position was his, and that has visibly changed. So fair play and well done for the Rosso Corsa driver Tibor Valent. And yeah, that's the pose of our pole setter. And that's the car.
Indeed, the 132 car of Tibor Valent, then Rosso Corsa racer. He is the quickest of the Shell drivers, quickest of the Shell Am drivers is Lucas Azato. We will bring you the full confirmed classification in just a moment. We're live from Mugello on a Sunday morning then as we go racing with the Ferrari Challenge in Europe for 2026, our 2nd round. And as is always the case, the track through the Tuscan countryside does not disappoint. Qualifying sessions often, in my mind, are sometimes just as entertaining as the races because all sorts of dynamics come into play in terms of drivers' strategies and how they play it out. So the Copa Shell qualifying done and dusted, and this is how it lined up in the end. The results by Faye as Tibor Valent takes pole position for Shell drivers, Lucas Azato for the Shell Am drivers, followed by Sven Schirmer and Jan Salmon. That's going to be an interesting row too. Alexander Lima, great qualifying of von Skeltermar. Jean Roux, Eric Chung, Charles Chan and Shintaro Akatsu. Ahead of Boris Gideon, Masaru Yaneda, Leon Rinbeek, Ken Sato, Henrik Kamstrup, Giuseppe Romelli, Robin Mays, Alexei Komarov getting better and better, and Fritz Muller. Ahead of Stefano Inama, Alwar Mayer, Paolo Scudieri, Tommy Lindroth, Alvaro Ramos, Lisa Clark and Louis Peruscia. Time for a cup of tea. Make sure you join us for Trofeo Pirelli qualifying. That's next on the air everywhere. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome back. Sunday at Mugello. It's the Ferrari Challenge Europe here in the sun. And we've already seen the qualifying for Copa and Copa Am. That will set the grid, or has set the grid, for race 1 in the afternoon at 2 p.m. local time. And now we focus our attention from Copa to Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am combined in the upcoming qualifying session, which is about 1.5 minutes away. This is our venue. It's Mugello, and as in this picture, the weather is glorious and sunny. Here is our calendar for the 2026 season. We've been to Le Castellet, we are in Mugello. We will go to Spielberg, Le Mans for the 24-hour race support with 2 races, Thursday and Saturday. Portimao, Budapest for the Ferrari racing days, and then it's the world final and the conclusion of our European calendar at Barcelona at the end of November. And if any of those dates and venues look like something that would appeal to you, then please book your travel. It's going to be great, and we would love to have you on site. We also love to have you on the stream, to be fair, but having you in the paddock would be even nicer, Dave.
You'd actually be welcome in this very studio to come and have a look at how it should not be done.
Not sure what you mean. This is the circuit, and we will see our drivers to show us how it's being done. It's 5.2 kilometers. 3 very different sectors. The first one with only 3 turns, and the second one fairly technical, as is the third one. The very, very long straight right in the middle. And apart from that, you're effectively always on it in terms of steering input.
I was just literally with Andreas Koenig and Lisa Clark, 2 fine drivers, and they were both actually extolling your virtues in terms of what you say, and that is that you don't stop on a lap of Mugello. It is pretty much non-stop hot rock, where your concentration has to be pinpoint accurate all the time, because there are so many challenges on this track that if you get it wrong and you lose concentration for just a millisecond, it's enough to spit you out. Here's Michael Verhagen, who did a very, very good job yesterday. The Ferrari Warsaw driver, Michael Verhagen then, who has got a pretty much purple patch so far in the 2026 championship, Nico. The reason I'm saying that, it's been victory, race 1, Paul Ricard. Victory, race 2, Paul Ricard. Victory, race 3, Mugello. 3 out of 3 for Michael Verhagen.
It's not too bad, I think.
It's pretty reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you could do that.
Been matched by Sergio Paula, of course, who is a Shell driver. As I'm sure you have already mentioned, our Shell, our Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers, they're distinguished by colour schemes. Pirelli drivers with the red strip, Am drivers with the white strip. And this is Sergio Paula, who by dint of the red on the graphics is indicative that he is a Pirelli driver. And in our feed into the studio, there is Herbert Guys, a super enigmatic man who is coached by Harald Brochik. And Harold from Pro Racing. There is Harold Brochik. I knew he'd want to be on the camera. Sure enough, Harold Brochik and Herbert Guys, they make a formidable combination, Nico, is what I was trying to say. I'm such a horlicks of saying it as we're watching Giacomo Ronaldo here in the number 75 car. Do you know what? I sit here with a cup of tea in an air-conditioned studio with technical and engineering support, with more screens than you can shake a stick at. Ferrari's racing on a fantastic track like Mugello. Not a bad job to have, is it? For me, how lucky am I?
How lucky are we? No, absolutely. I mean, we get the pleasure and privilege to be part of this Ferrari family and to be watching what our protagonists are doing, and we're honored to bring that to you. A lot of worse places to be than in the Ferrari Challenge paddock, that's for sure. And I mean, there are a lot of worse places to be than in a Ferrari 296 Challenge cockpit.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I would know what to do if I was in there.
Me neither. Me neither, if I'm honest with you. There is an expression in the UK which you will be familiar with, and that is, there are people that can walk the walk and there are people that can talk the talk. Guess which one of those am I? I don't think it needs a lot of guessing. Giacomo Ronaldo then. The Rosso Corsa driver of the number 75 car, who finished just off the podium yesterday, P4. He'll be hoping to elevate that and get on the podium and take his first podium of the season today in race 2. And let's see if he can do that. What have we got? 26 minutes of the session remaining. And generally speaking, what happens is our Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers will go out on a set of tyres from yesterday's race that are what's technically known as scrubbed in. And then they will take a new set of tyres, maybe halfway through the session or thereabouts, to set their meaningful lap times, which will give them their grid position for the race to come this afternoon.
Absolutely, Giacomo Ronaldo. The podium thus far has eluded him this season. Has been there or thereabouts all the time, but hasn't got his hands on any silverware, so he will hope to rectify that here on race 4 of the season. No such problems for Sergio Paulet, who has collected all 3 podium positions and has followed up with 3 race wins as well, and he has collected a track limits infraction, which means this lap will not add to his tally of success. Track limits.
That's where he did it.
This is
entry and exit of that chicane.
Indeed.
All 4 wheels over the white line basically means you are going to get spanked, metaphorically, by race control, because they're on it and they're not prepared to allow anyone to take an advantage where it's quite clear at that chicane, it is even blindingly obvious to someone like me that by just taking a little bit of a centimetre more, you're going to gain quite a bit of trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just straightening the curve, which means you have a shorter line and you can take more momentum. And if race control allowed that, then it would only be, at some point, they would just go straight. They would just ignore the chicane. Therefore, it is very much a black and white judgment there. You can't argue that it's only a millimetre. No, you can be a millimetre on the good side, you're fine. But the moment you are outside, and generally race control has cameras in these spots, there is always a driver's briefing on the Friday of each event, and they will designate and specifically tell the drivers, this is where we have cameras, this is where we're exactly looking at things with an extra keen eye, and if you run afoul there, even by the smallest of margin, your lap time will be deleted, or later in the race, different consequences. You get a few freebies, but after that, time penalties are applied. So much for the rule book. And hopefully, track limits will not decide pole positions or race wins.
I was congratulating Enzo A, who's just delivered a 1:53.309 on a set of tyres from yesterday. Sergio Paulet is looking good now and has taken a huge chunk of time out. As you can see the new tyres going onto the Max Mugello car right now, Nico. Great to see the engineers at work here now. These are not performance pit stops. That doesn't happen during the course of a race in Ferrari Challenge. Sergio Paulet currently P1. And we think that Sergio is still on a set of tyres from yesterday.
Pretty sure, yes. That's how we generally play it in the Ferrari Challenge when the weather is as it is. Changes when it's wet, but in the dry, the drivers will go out and set themselves up, get the car in rhythm and the brakes up to temperature with yesterday's Pirelli P0s, and then they will change to the new set, which is then being used to go about the time chase in earnest. And therefore, anything that happens in this early stage of the session ideally shouldn't be that relevant, but it doesn't always go according to plan.
Look at this lap time from Enzo, Nico. Enzo driving for the Monza NV team. Sector 1 and Sector 2 purples. Now they're purple sectors within class, within Trofeo Pirelli Amber. It's a really impressive performance from Enzo. Driver of the number 22 car. The impression of the performance has been slightly dulled by the track limits, which that's a slam dunk, I'm sorry to say. There's no question about that. So up until that point, was doing a darned good job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the drivers are very aware of that. This is not what they want to be their calling card at the end of the session, so they will take a few more liberties than they would otherwise. They'll be uber aggressive in some parts, and that sometimes leads to these track limits. There is no further consequence. When you exceed the track limits in the race and you incur a penalty, you actually are booked for the season. So it's like a yellow card in football, where if you collect a certain number of them, you are banned from a race. And in the Ferrari Challenge, if you collect too many behavior points, which are actually more misbehavior points, and you know all about that, Dave.
Oh, charming. Oh, charming. Why don't you cast just a few more aspersions at my character and blacken it still further? How dare you?
No, I was more thinking of you as a referee rather than the culprit. If you collect too many of them, you will get a grid drop for the upcoming race. That's generally how it works.
The reason I am laughing so hysterically is because I can remember, certainly not in the Ferrari Challenge, in another racing series, because I've been in this business for more years than I care to remember, I can remember the worst case scenario of misbehavior on the track. It can mean that you get a black flag. And that means that you retire immediately. Your race is done. This driver was so determined that he was enjoying himself so much that he wasn't going to take the black flag lying down. But after having been shown the black flag so many times from the starter's rostrum, the starter got so angry with the driver he actually threw the black flag at his car, which still didn't make him come in. I don't think said driver has done much racing since.
Quite possibly that's not going to put you in your racing federation's favor and earn you a suspension, probably.
Forgive me.
No. Get back on the script. Anders Bidstrup is not getting on the script, or actually he is. He's getting on the script of his team's and his own strategy in terms of coming into the pit lane with about 10 minutes elapsed in the session. And he joins a formidable array of drivers who are either in the pit lane or just coming out of pit lane. And this is exactly what you alluded to.
Both Jacob and Anders Bidstrup are lovely people to speak to. I spoke to them at breakfast this morning, and they were explaining how you can really feel the difference in track adhesion with every single degree rise in track temperature, Nico. And you know, they're both very self-deprecating. You know, we're rookie drivers. You know, it's new to us, and it was quite humbling to listen to what they were saying.
There you can have a look.
Great job there by our RF, I have to say, giving us that wheel change. I enjoyed that. Took me back to when I was an engineer about 150 years ago.
Did they have wheels though?
Right, moving on.
Moving on board, and that gives you a great shot of the elevation changes here around the Mugello circuit, how it's up and down. And Danilo Del Favero, he's had more ups than downs this season. Yesterday he was fairly down at the beginning of the race, and then became part of a very, very interesting six-way battle that raged for about 15 or 20 minutes throughout the race. And I believe almost all the drivers occupied all of the positions of that six-way battle.
It was a remarkable battle, wasn't it? Which just goes to prove, you know, and we've often said this, haven't we, in racing, that it's not necessarily what's going on at the front of the pack. It's halfway through the pack, and that was, you know, for lap after lap after lap, 6 drivers all absolutely on the limit, positions changing, and it was good, clean, and tidy racing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Danilo Del Favero, I think it was P8 at the beginning of said period, finished in P6, and I think it involved roughly 50 overtakes among those 6 drivers. It was very, very interesting and very enjoyable to watch, and very enjoyable to watch for Daniel Lefebvre. And his allegiance is that he has put it onto P1 provisionally in class.
Good job done. Good job done. 1:53.275. We're yet to see meaningful times from Herbert Guys and Nobuhiro Imada, Nico. Surprisingly. But Sergio Paulet is back out on a fresh set of tyres. Sergio Paulet with a 1:51.382 was the fastest in any event. And what have we got remaining in this qualifying session? Some 16.5 minutes, as near as makes no difference. So Sergio Paulet P1, Max Mugelli P2 within class. Max Mugelli with personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2. And here we can see the CDP Eureka competition car rounding the final turn and heading for the start-finish straight, neat and tidy, and all wheels within the white lines. Going to be an improvement for Max Mugelli, I feel sure. 8/100ths down, but significantly quicker than a number of the AM drivers who they were in front of him, Nico.
Yeah, I think this was the first real lap from Max Mugello following the change of his tires, so probably expect even more out of him, and certainly expect more from Sergio Paulet. This lap that he is on is not meaningful in that he's 2 seconds down on his previous and overall best, but again, the lap after that is the one that we will have a keen eye on, and this is probably not going to count anyway, because that certainly looked like he cut that chicane. Let's see if race control is of the same opinion, but anyway, it is academic. This is not going to be an improvement one way or the other. Max Mugelli, meanwhile, yeah, there's the track limit indication. Max Mugelli, first sector, 6/10 to the good, so that's one lap that we will watch, and we are watching now as he climbs up.
Plant of these 296 Challenge cars. You can hear almost like an orchestra. And look at this from Max Mugelli. He is on a mission right now. Keeping it again within the white lines. Here comes a chicane where it's very easy to exceed the track limits. And Sector 1 and Sector 2, both purples for Max Mugelli. The final turn, accelerating right now, and I'm being tentative in terms of what I say. Max Mugelli goes with a 1:50.261 as Tina looks on from the pit wall. Max Mugelli then for Trofeo Pirelli. On the podium yesterday, P2.
Yeah, and that was a clean and tidy lap. No indication of track limits, and we were both.
That's
looking
why I
at,
was a bit, just a bit hesitant, Nico.
Yeah, we were looking at the exit of this chicane here, where he ran a little bit wide on the outside, and apparently that was good enough. Sergio Paulet keeps it a lot tidier around here. His first 2 sectors purple, and so unless something dramatic happens through that final kink, it looks like he is going to be heading for recapturing that P1 overall.
Finger right, breaks the timing beam now.
1:48.022. That's
Sergio Paulet's father watching on. He'll be happy with his son's progress, I would say. Nico, forgive me interrupting you.
He doesn't look it necessarily yet, no, but I'm sure he's very focused. Sergio Paulet, undisputed thus far, and not unchallenged in the races, it has to be said, but in terms of his points haul, as he slides through that turn just a little bit, continues to honor the number 1 that is painted on the side of his 296 challenge. You mentioned Herbert Guys and Nobuhiro Imada. Both are now on their out laps.
Thank you, Nico.
Both figured prominently in the race, including Herbert Guys on the podium, actually. So good to see both of them out, and they probably will go just with a new set of rubbers. They will skip the first part of having yesterday's tires reused for whatever reason. Maybe they feel they don't offer anything anymore. And there is Sergio Paulet. It's great to have this onboard shot and see how he works the car through each and every turn. And how you can almost feel the rumbling as he attacks the curbs. 2 purple sectors, once again, more than half a second to the good. There is some traffic, but I don't think it will necessarily hamper him. It's just enough, far enough away.
Yes, I think I agree with you. I think it's not going to impede.
The Jacob Bitstrup car. Is there a little bit of...
I thought that as well, Nico. Yeah, just a bit of panel work rubbing, not wobbling about on the right-hand side of the car as we look at it right now. Sergio Paulet, 148.022 becomes a 147.340. I mean, that's a chunk and a bit of time taken out of previous best, Nico.
Yeah, and I will make a bold prediction. I think Sergio Paulet will bring in the car. I don't think that he will attack anymore. I think knowing him and...
Keep the tyres for the race.
Exactly.
Okay, mate.
Knowing how confident he is, and he will know whether he feels like there is any more in the car. I can't imagine that there can be much more in the car, because that is an impressive lap and then some. Here is Max Mugello, second in class, second overall. He was fairly down the order yesterday for the start and had to climb a few positions in the race. Would certainly much more like to have a front row start today, and he is improving in terms of lap times, but he's nowhere near the time of Sergio Paulet through 2 sectors. And he does improve, but it's still more than 2 seconds off the pace from Sergio Paulet.
Max Mugello then for CDP Eureka competition. And in replay, great shot of the Max Mugello car. As the clock kicks down right now, we have exactly 10 minutes of this qualifying session remaining. That's 10 minutes for drivers to improve, and drivers that we're expecting to see times from include Nobuhiro Amada and Herbert Guys, and that's Danilo Del Favro, Nico, with a piece of bodywork that appears to have come off the car. Is that because of contact? No, it's because of running through the gravel first, and yes, then made contact with the barriers, Nico. So that's dislodged part of the rear bodywork, I would suggest. As Michael Verhagen is in the pit lane. Where is Michael Verhagen? If any driver is out of position at the moment, Michael is one of them, Nico, 6th in class. That's not where we would expect to see the driver of the number 33 car.
No, you already mentioned he has won all 3 races thus far, so P6 certainly not where he expects himself to be. For once, I am correct about Sergio Paulet, and who thinks that this lap time will be exactly what he needed, and nothing more is to be gained, or the sacrifice would be too big. There is Anders Bitstrup. The blue applications on the car differentiate his car from that of his brother, which otherwise is fairly identical. Anders lost the Bitstrup battle yesterday. He finished on track in front of him, but had incurred a track limit infraction too many, which meant a 5-second penalty dropped him behind his brother.
Yes.
Bragging rights for once for yesterday went to Jacob. Let's see how that turns out later today in the race. For now, Anders is ahead of Jacob, but it's only by 1 position.
They're really, really matched, aren't they, in terms of performance? It's very, very interesting. Here comes Anders Bidstrup then as he improves, and improves enough to go second within class, Nico. So as Giacomo Ronaldo P1, as Sergio Paulet then makes his way out of the car, as Nico indicated he would, and as is always the case, Nico was right. He's German, you know.
Don't take that. Don't take that for granted. I can tell you that Michael Verhagen, who we saw in the pit lane, has come out and is on his out lap. So he agrees that his current position is not what he wants.
Here's Nobuhiro Amada, who very quietly has gone about improving and has done so by going to 4th in class. And Nobuhiro Amada with Purple Sector 1. Driver that does a lot of racing, and Nobuhiro we would expect to see further up the order than he is currently. Enzo Eid has just gone P2 in class. Giacomo Ronaldo is the quickest of the Pirelli AM drivers. So remind you, the AM drivers have a white strip across the top of the windscreen, like Nobuhiro Amada, who we're watching right now. It is the Pirelli drivers of Sergio Paulet and Max Mugello who have the red strip across the top of the windscreen. 7 minutes of this qualifying session remaining. Drivers out of position. Herbert Guys, Michael Verhagen, I would suggest at the moment. As Nico indicated, Michael Verhagen, though, is on an outlap, so he is trying to right the wrongs of the qualifying session thus far in the remaining 6 3/4 minutes that are still to come as Nobuhiro Imada goes to P1 in class. Well done, Nobuhiro.
Yeah, he had a lot of overtaking to do in the race and did that very, very well and with great aplomb, but I think he prefers to not having to do that and starting from the front. Well, which driver wouldn't? Nobuhiro certainly with a very, very good lap, and Rinaldo and Ida, they were trading places just before, where Ida crossed the timing line and Rinaldo is right behind him and immediately unseated him again. So those two are effectively in a race of their own. Enzo Ida currently 3rd in class, 4th overall. He is trying to get that position back from Nobuhiro Imada and take P1, and right behind him is the Giacomo Rinaldo car, which is not quite as quick on this occasion. And then there is still Michael Verhagen looming down the order for the moment, but his first sector on the current lap was something to watch, and you can see that in graphics on screen. And Enzo Ida returns the favor and gets into the front row seat, P2 overall, P1 in class.
Michael Verhagen then with purple sector 1, purple sector 2, the driver of the number 33 car, who we would expect to see at the sharp end of the grid. Accelerates now out of the final turn. He has big, big support. Lots and lots of people watch and are supportive of his racing efforts, and there's the reason why. Very quietly, he goes about his job, and by 6 3/4 tenths, Nico has put it P1. Here's Anders Bidstrup. You can tell it's Anders by the blue markings, as Nico has indicated, who...
It's not really at race pace, that would look like right now. You can see first sector was
set it up for the next lap.
Yeah, first sector was personal best, and second not so. We're 4.5 minutes remaining from the checkered flag coming out, and whatever happens when you're on a lap, when the checkered flag is out, that still counts. So effectively, if you cross the timing line with any time remaining, then that upcoming lap still scores and figures, and that was what Imada did yesterday. He got moved up the order by quite a few positions and almost got on terms with Michael Verhagen in quali at the very, very last moment. So let's see, 4 minutes remaining on the clock. Who is doing what? Danilo Del Fabro with a quick time. Michael Verhagen still pushing. He wants to spread his margin over the other M drivers. Both Pirelli drivers are already in the pit, so they are where they are, but they won't improve any further. So it's up to the M's to take the reins in the remainder of this session.
Yes, it is. So Verhagen then for Ferrari Warsaw. This is not a lap that is going to be meaningful. He's certainly going to have the opportunity to put another one in, should he so desire. Coming up behind him right now is Nobuhiro Imada, who is certainly on a faster trajectory. I would have suggested, by dint of just how quickly he's caught up with Michael Verhagen, he'll give it 100% now. But no, he won't. He'll come into the pit lane. He'll feel that he has done as much as he's able to do, and therefore is preferring to have longevity in the tyres, Nico.
Yeah, probably a wise thing, even if you were to lose a position. Putting all that extra strain on his Pirelli P0 is probably not what he feels is the wise course of action. So that means further opportunities and windows of opportunities for the likes of Herbert Dice, who is quick, Enzo Ida, who is also quick, and Nobuhiro Imada, we already mentioned. He didn't improve on the last time he came across the timing line, but he is also going again. So Herbert Dice, he was 3rd on the podium yesterday, if memory serves.
Guys then, driver of the number 11 car, who, as you quite rightly say, took his third position yesterday, having taken 3rd position in the first race at Paul Ricard circuit. Here's Jacob Bidstrup. You know it's Jacob because he's got the yellow mirrors, the colour flashes, if you will, on the front spoiler and the mirrors, which distinguish between Jacob and his brother Anders and Herbert Guys heading for home. Run for home, that famous song from Lindisfarne. As Herbert Guys then is 5th fastest within class for Maranello Motors Pro Racing. Here's Enzo Ida.
Personal best, proves in terms of time, but doesn't get on terms with Michael Verhagen, so...
This is probably going to be his last lap, I would think, Nico. He crossed the timing line just on the cusp. Just on the cusp.
Yeah, let's see whether he can and whether he wants to take another one after this one. Probably his progress around the track on this occasion will play a part in that. Danilo Del Favaro, 7th in class. Nobuhiro Yamada in front of him, won't trouble him in terms of traffic. A little bit of a twitch there from Del Favaro, but keeps it together, controls it. Let's see, where can he finish? He's 7th in class. He needs to find a few more tenths to move up the order. Finds some time, but doesn't find another position in the progress.
Enzo right now, who has been right at the sharp end of pretty much the entire qualifying session. Who is it going to be that's going to be P1 in Pirelli Am?
And we have another screen here in our commentary position where we can see Michael Verhagen discussing and looking at the timing screen, and you can see his emotions as he's watching his competitors, and Enzo Ida first and foremost of them, but I think he has lost a little bit too much time in that second sector to be able to do it. I rather think 23 seconds, I think that should be possible for another one. It's only going to be by a matter of seconds, whether it's yes or no, but the other question is, will he want it? Or will he decide, well, he goes across the line, at least to take this one.
Well, you're right. He can go again.
Again, Enzo improves by a few tenths, but it's not good enough and not quite good enough. Although this lap was actually disallowed because of a track limit infraction, and I rather think he has slowed down a little bit.
So that means this man, Michael Verhagen, has probably done enough. Checkered flag is out right now. Sergio Paulet then P1 for Pirelli drivers, and we think Michael Verhagen is going to be P1 for the AM drivers. We say think because we do know that Enzo Ede is back out there, but we feel that Enzo has slowed now, so that will be enough.
Let's see, when he crosses the first sector line, then we will know for sure, and that's not happened now, and he's 6 seconds off the pace, so okay. That is the official one now, because he can't find that time over the rest of the turn of the lap. And here is our overall fastest driver.
I was not too on the bananas, so the car didn't jump.
They talk about bananas. By bananas, they're not talking about the fruit that's available in the buffet. They're talking about the what we call sausage curbs, Nico, as Sven Schirmer lends an engineering hand and pushes the 175 car, his car, back into the garage. Well done to Michael Verhagen then. He is P1 in Pirelli Am. Sergio Paulet, P1 in Pirelli. So well done. Super slow-mos of the top cars then, and then we'll bring you the classification in full. Before, what we can look forward to is the racing to come this afternoon. We have a race for our Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers and a race for our Shell and Shell Am drivers to come this afternoon, and very much looking forward to that. So we just saw the Sergio Paulet car, now we see the Michael Verhagen car, the two cars and driver combos that have given us their pole positions for the race to come this afternoon. Remind you that the white sunstrip indicative of a Shell Am, a Pirelli Am driver, and red sunstrip indicative of a Pirelli driver. Here's confirmation then. Sergio Paulet ahead of Michael Verhagen. Then it was Enzo Ida, Nobuhiro Yamada, Giacomo Rinaldo, Herbert Guys, Max Mugello and Anders Bidstrup. They are the top 8 places. As we go to the second page, we find Danilo Del Favaro, Otto Blank, Jacob Bidstrup, and Karl Runefeld. The results brought to you in association with Faye. Thank you so much for watching qualifying. We look forward to you joining us for the races to come this afternoon. From Nico and from myself, bye-bye for now.